My name is Vanessa, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the Social Media Monday Geolocation webinar. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press pound key. Thank you. I will now like to turn the call over to Ms. Ann Knizner. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Vanessa. Hi, everyone, and thank you for attending today's Social Media Monday Geolocation Services, how you can check in for good. My name is Suzanne Knizner, and I am the Project and Corporate Coordinator for Campaign Consultation, and I will be facilitating this call. Let me let you know that we have all the lines muted and that we encourage you to use the chat feature on the lower right-hand side of your screen if you have any questions or comments along the way. And as Vanessa said, we will have a discussion session at the end of our presentation where we can take questions from you regarding the information. Before we get started, I do want to go over a few details, including tips that if you lose your internet connection or your phone connection, just simply log back on or call back in as you did originally. And please know that this event is being recorded and that all links presented will be made available at the end of the presentation. And I'll turn it over to Michelle Bond, Project Manager for Campaign Consultation, who will introduce today's presenters.
Thanks so much, Suzanne. Everyone, and welcome. We're really excited to get started here in 2011 with our Social Media Monday series. Joining us today is Elizabeth Matthews, who's the Vista Alumni Outreach Specialist with the Corporation for National Service, and also Danielle Ricks, who is our Social Media Specialist here at Campaign Consultation. And I'll turn it over to Liz for just a moment. Are you there? Oh, okay. Looks like Liz isn't able to join us just yet. Just want to, again, welcome you all on behalf of Vista and everyone, and especially our Vista guests who will be speaking with us a little later. And if we have an opportunity to, we'll bring Liz back on in just a little bit. So just tell you all, if it's your first time joining us, again, welcome. We're really happy to have you with us. We've been doing Social Media Monday now for over a year and looking at regular opportunities to help provide members, Vista community, alumni, and sponsoring organizations the opportunity to learn about and really use social media platforms for the work that you all do every day in your service assignments. And so, where possible, like today, we have Vistas and Vista alums on to tell us how they're using these particular tools in service, and also technology experts to help us the rest of what's going on with these platforms and really help harness them for good and social change. So again, welcome, and I will turn it over now to Dan to get us started with what's in store for today.
Thank you. Today's Social Media Monday agenda, we're going to talk about quite a few things to help navigate through this phase. One of them is, what are geolocation services? Just what are they? You've heard of Foursquare, you've heard of Gowalla, but boy, there are so many more that we want to talk about as well. So we're going to just get right into it about what are the geolocation services, and then what tools do you need to use them? So where would you check in? That's a big question for everyone. You know, when I need these services, how can I use it? And then where would I check in? We have 2 Vista case studies for you. One with the Vista who has just started using Foursquare, and we hope to give her some suggestions on other ways that she can use it with her project and in her service. Another Vista who's done some pretty interesting things that I think we'll all want to take note on, and how he's using these services for his project and with his organization. We have some tips for you that we hope that you'll walk away with and you'll be able to use after this, and then we will leave some time for questions and answers. And now Michelle is going to go over our poll.
Thank you, Danielle. So you should see in front of you, and also on the bottom right portion of your screen, just a few questions. If you would just take a couple moments to give your initial answer there, we'd like to just ensure that we're hitting all the right notes, and that for you who are new to geolocation, that we're covering the basics in a way that is helpful to you, and maybe those of you who are a little further along, we can introduce you to some new out there and up and coming. So it would just go through this, and then we'll make sure to check back shortly with the responses.
Show. So what are geolocation services? Well, they provide real-world location experiences, and they work automatically looking up your IP address. It requires that you sign up with the service and you download an app in most cases, and it can be integrated into your social networks. That would be your Foursquares, your Twitter, your Facebooks. And location technologies really have transformed how we experience the world around us. Combine forces with your smartphones, mobile broadband, local aware applications, and they connect us in more meaningful ways to people, organizations, events, information that matter to most of us. And namely, they connect us with a physical proximity to where we actually are. So today we'll learn how to use this technology for your Vista assignment or within your organization and for any actually a national service. And we're going to talk about real-world geolocation and how it's going to apply to what you're doing, so that you walk away with some great information after that. So we can advance the slide. Michelle is going to go over with you some of the things that you will need to use these services.
Great. So I'm sure many of those devices on the screen there look familiar. Obviously, changes, gosh, it feels like almost weekly when it comes to mobile devices and what you can use. But a smartphone is a mobile phone that offers, more advanced computing ability and connectivity than a basic phone. So obviously the features, that you can access with a computer are now at your fingertips through things like applications and integrated into mobile phones. In some cases, wireless capability has existed within phones, but now you're able to receive, many of the same computer applications just by using your cell phone network. And that's the real leap that, as many of you know, we've taken now with also the tablets as well. Obviously, the iPad and the other ones that are out there, Nook and Kindle, as e-readers, but then also other versions of tablets which offer more advanced computer-like capabilities, and these are the things that make geolocation now, just not even a reach for somebody who's carrying around a smartphone in their pocket on a daily basis.
If I could just interrupt really quickly, the poll is going to be going on for about 30 more seconds, so if you haven't already, please go ahead and let us know your thoughts. Thanks. Sorry, Danielle.
No, thank you, Suzanne. So let's head in advance. And Michelle brought up an interesting point about the tablet. I don't know how many of you have seen it. There are quite a few that are coming out to rival the iPad, and one is called the Zoom, and that's Motorola, and Verizon has the Galaxy. So keep your eyes open for many of those. So geolocation services, by far, the front runner right now is Foursquare. And Foursquare gives you new ways to explore a city or particular location. You earn points on the way. You unlock badges for discovering new things. So there's definitely a gaming portion of it. It is the front runner right now. Millions of users turn to Foursquare every single day to help them find their friends and explore their world around you. For those of you who are Vista's alum, it will help you find them in a physical proximity where you are. And you can also help you check out anything from a farmer's market to a food bank to a place that you want to visit while you're in a new city. Activities and loyalty with your social networks, and again, you earn points along the way. The most successful brands or businesses on Foursquare are those who integrate Foursquare into their general communications, into their marketing plans, encouraging people to follow them, encouraging their community to follow them and their activities. And we'll get into that a little bit more later on. I'm wondering if we have poll results yet, Suzanne. Have they come in?
Yes, we do. I'll go ahead and share them with you. And looks like 16% of you are not. I'm sorry. So the first question is, are you a Vista using a geolocation service? And it looks like 61% is not versus 21% is. The answer to do you use Foursquare is 21% of you are. Gowalla, 9% of you are. And do you use a geolocation service other than the ones addressed? There is only 9% using another one. And it looks like the front runner for how you're using these sites is at 15% for building a community, which is great. Followed behind that closely is marketing and communications.
Well, you guys is definitely the web shop for you. Glad so many of you are using Foursquare, and we're going to spend a little bit of time talking on that because they are the front runner. But boy, if 9% are using Gowalla, and you're going to be surprised by some innovative ways we're going to share with you today that I'm just so excited about. I just very excited what Gowalla has to offer, and I'm hoping you will be as well. So let's go ahead and advance the slide. And we talked about Foursquare being the front runner, and their numbers are in the New York Times right around the time we were doing the research for this web shop. Foursquare shared with the New York Times some of these graphics, and this is one of them. And that is that the headline read, 2010, our year of 3,400% growth. That's just astounding for a company that has not been around very long, the kind of growth that they've had. And the most important data among that is that there are over 381 million check-ins worldwide. So one of the reasons why they're the front runner is because so many people are using them. So for those of us who are in national service in the United States, we have to think, okay, how can we use this check-in in our service? Because clearly people are using them, and then untapped resources there for folks who maybe you could reach in ways that you didn't think about using before. And let's go ahead and advance the slide. And so of those check-ins, you can see sprinkled the details with the different places where people check in: food, obviously a front runner, work in office, shops, travel, nightlife, arts and entertainment, parks and outdoors, college and education. So these kinds of different areas as the front runners of where they're checking in, you can think about in your service, where are you or with your organization? Are you doing something in arts and entertainment? Are you doing something outside in a farmer's market, in an open air Artwalk? You know, are you trying to push people to an event at your particular food court, at a shop, at an office, at a particular college? Are you having an event on a college? Are you in an education program? Well, know that people are checking in at these places. So these are opportunities that we already exist on Foursquare. We just have to figure out how do we tap into those people. So let's go ahead and advance the slide. I'm going to take you on a little ride of our Foursquare page. Suzanne, if you would give me right. And
You have them?
I'm not sure. Yes, I do.
Okay, good.
And so let me share my desktop. And does everyone see the Foursquare page?
It's slightly behind.
Okay, great. So this is Vista Buzz on Foursquare, folks. And we've had 32 nights out. We've had 52 check-ins, and we've left tips. And I think some of the tips are the most interesting things for us in terms of how we're going to use Foursquare. So one of the tips is, how can you check in for good in our next Social Media Monday workshop? So actually, we're using this as a promotion to the people who are following us on Foursquare to let them know that they can actually check into this particular workshop. Check-in at elementary school, learn about opportunities to get involved here by joining your neighborhood listserv. At the Food Depot, we're letting other Vistas who may be in the area know that at this particular area, at this particular food depot, there are deep discounts, food stamps are accepted, and there's a modest selection of fresh produce. These are some of our badges. We are not doing it necessarily necessarily personally, so we're not going around grabbing every branded badge that's out there. But I'm pretty proud of our historian badge and our local badge and our bookworm badge. I like to think of AmeriCorps Vista as being an explorer and adventurer as well. So we are badges. It's very much a gaming part of Foursquare, so that is their force. How did that go to me? Okay. So one of the things that I also want to point out for Foursquare is that you'll find different specials, and this is a quick guide for a merchant. So if you, one of the Vistas who will be on a case study will talk to us about this a little later on, but if you log into Foursquare and you prove that you are the owner of your venue, you can actually set up a special. So maybe you have night courses that you're offering at your particular location, and you want to make sure whoever has the mayorship gets X off on supplies and material. And when they checked in, they'll see this little orange banner that pops up on their tablet or their phone, letting them know, and anybody within pretty much a 10-block radius know that there's a special going on. So it's not just to the people that you're reaching out to who are following you, but anyone who checks in on your particular venue will also get this special. Now, one of our visitors is going to talk to us about how easy and or difficult that is to get this particular venue authorized through Foursquare, but if you can do it, that is one way to use it. And so Susan's going to give you right back.
I'll just take them.
Yes, please, thank you. And Michelle's up next.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, I think it's time to
I'm sorry, it's
Ashley. Yeah.
That's right. Ashley's next. Sorry, Ashley. So, hi, Ashley. Are you there with us?
I'm here.
Hey there. Can you just give us your title and where you are serving?
My name is Ashley Laughlin, and I am the tutoring program coordinator at Neighborhood House on the west side of St. Paul. And Neighborhood House has a variety of programs focusing on basic needs, education, youth leadership. So my tutoring program is just one of the many programs that comprise Neighborhood House.
I know that you're using Foursquare. Tell me, first of all, you found out about it, and then how you're using it.
I actually found out about Foursquare through one of my friends on vacation in New York, and I was asked her, why are you checking in on a subway line? What's going on? I'm really confused. So I started using Foursquare on vacation and brought it home, and now I'm personally using it to connect with friends and other Vistas in the area just to see what people are doing and see what's going on.
So let's go ahead and advance the slide and show people a screenshot of yours. You've got some badges too. Talk to me about your first check-in and where you checked in and how you were able to find other Vistas through Foursquare.
My first check-in was a subway platform in New York City, so that was rather interesting. I just was able to connect with other Vistas that I had already maybe become friends with on Facebook or Twitter, as Foursquare will allow you to search your contact list. And once I added Vistas, I was able to see, what cafes they might like to go to, or restaurants, or maybe they went to a conference I attended. And it was a great way to be able to kind of create a community, especially with people that I didn't necessarily know quite so well.
And how do you explain to people who, like you at the beginning, were checking in at a subway stop, how do you explain to other Vistas or how they should be using Foursquare?
Well, when I talk to other Vistas, I like to think, I know Vistas love networking, and I've used Foursquare a lot for networking, especially when I'm friends with a Vista and maybe I can find something we have in common. It's a great way to start up a conversation and create a sense of community, or maybe you just make a friend. I also found people who use it at their own sites personally and use that as a marketing tool, as you previously mentioned.
Great. Have you thought about how you could use it with your organization or different ways that you could use it with your project?
I have been toying with the idea of using Foursquare at my site, and I know that in my tutoring program, several tutors as well as their students have smartphones. So I'm thinking how I could set it up. Once you hit a certain number of check-ins, you might get a little prize, or if you're mayor, you get a certain prize. And of course, I would come up with something for students and tutors that didn't have a smartphone. But I think that'd be an interesting way to just engage my students and volunteers in another way. I've also been thinking of ways that my organization at large could use it. Perhaps if you're mayor, you get a discount on space or something to that extent. And I might be saying that because I'm mayor, but
we do our mayorships, don't we? Really like our mayorships. Okay, so that's an idea of someone who's starting out. Use Foursquare to find other vistas, which is a good idea to connect with people in real time, to share different locations and share different interests. Let's go ahead and advance the slide. And I would like to introduce you all to Landon. And Landon, let us know what your title is and where your site is.
Yeah, my name is Landon Hoy, and I am the Main Street Coordinator down at NEDCO, Neighborhood Economic Development Corporation in Springfield, Oregon.
You guys have using Foursquare in some very interesting ways on two different tracks. How did you even find out about this geolocation service, and then how did you come up with some of the ideas that you have? We'll talk about them in depth in a minute, but I'm just curious how you started to think outside of the box in terms of using this particular service.
Yeah, well, there's a former Vista that was hired on with NEDCO that I work with, Lee, who was originally going to present today. He and I had been using Foursquare for quite some time before, and then when I came on this past summer, we were like, oh, well, let's see if we can't get something going for our farmers market that we operate and some other things. And so, we tried it out, and we're still, in the beginning stages of it. But it's a cool way to involve the community and just do some neat marketing things for our organization and the special events and things that we hold. So
let's go ahead and advance the slide. It's about this particular check-in and what you all did for the Springfield Farmers Market on Foursquare.
Yeah, NEDCO, our organization, we have a Foursquare. We don't really check in with it, but we used it just so we could, claim manager of this of the farmers market. We operate the farmers market in downtown Springfield, and we contacted Foursquare to get a special offer, like you were talking about earlier, to encourage people to check in at the market, and we offer them a little incentive for doing so. So in this case, it says on there fresh produce just for checking in. So what we've been doing is, if we have one of those little stickers that you sometimes see in business windows, we have that at our management booth at the market, and it says, Foursquare, check in here. And when people check in and then they show us their phone, we give them a produce. So, for instance, I got a free head of lettuce, and you'll see I left a tip there. Get free produce for checking in here. So, yeah, we've been able to add that little fun to the market.
And talk to people about tips, because I don't think that a lot of folks understand how they can use them. And to me, that's one of the most useful portions for someone who may be trying to drive traffic or a call to action.
Yeah, basically the tips are great because you're able to, something neat happens or something that is rare that other people don't know about. You can just, when you check in, leave a tip or a to-do, and other people are able to check it off, if you will, when they see it and do it. And then, therefore, it actually counts the number of people who have actually done that at the bottom of the tip, and then you see that it's actually happening, and so, there's a taco there on the corner here, and they have $2 for 2 tacos on Tuesdays, every Tuesday, and we always go there, so, everyone's always checking it off, and it's become real popular, and I'd like to say that we've been a part of that, but who knows.
No, very food motivated.
Yeah, very much so.
Right. Right. Okay, advance the slide. And speaking of motive, one of the other ones is the Artwalk. So talk to us a little bit about how you use Foursquare for this, because I think this is really interesting what you guys did with this one.
And we're like I said, still getting this rolling. But one thing, part of my Vista project as the Main Street coordinator is to establish the groundwork for the Main Street program, which is a national model of downtown revitalization, to establish the groundwork of that in downtown Springfield. So a lot of what I'm doing is going and meeting business owners and just seeing, doing collaborative marketing and things like that. And so something that's come out of that is the Second Friday Art Walk, and it's every month now since October. We've actually gone through the dark and cold winters here in Oregon to do it, and it's been really successful. But we have where you can check in at the Art Walk, and what we're talking about, and we're working on it right now, is kind of getting all of the business owners along Main Street to participate in Foursquare. So setting them up with a Foursquare account where people can check in, and kind of like being a passport type thing, if you will, to encourage people to check in at so many places or in a certain order or something, and then be able to prove it, and maybe them get a badge like Foursquare offers, or a prize or some sort of discount, something like that for all businesses or certain businesses along Main Street. So kind of a collaborative marketing effort that we've been working on, and hopefully we'll be able to get rolling even further pretty soon.
I'm hoping everyone on the call, if you are not using Foursquare, that you understand. So when we talk about a mayorship, when you get mayorship, a little crown that you can see under there next to Lee's name, under mayor, pops up to let you know that you're there. So when you're trying to use these for marketing or communication purposes, and you're running a campaign, a marketing campaign, and you want it tied to the mayorship, they physically have to show you their device in order to prove to you that they're the mayor. So they would just flip it over, and we do it all the time. You walk into maybe a donut shop, and it'll say, oh, if you're the mayor of the donut shop, you get a free cup of coffee. Show the guy behind the counter your device, and that way you get whatever it is that special offer is. But you physically have to show them your phone or your tab to let them know. Ashley, do any of these ideas resonate with you? Is this anything, or is your brain going in different ways that maybe you might start using Foursquare?
My brain's starting to go, especially with the idea of creating a community of Foursquare users in a specific area. The west side of St. Paul has a really, really strong community, and it would be great to use Foursquare to tie all of community sites together. I know we have even a bus that goes around to a bunch of different sites, so it would be great to see that used in Foursquare, as well as we have a support program that a lot of children partake in. So that would be a really nice event to tie into Foursquare.
There's a question that we're going to answer now. We're going to get to as many as we can. I was going to say all, but I don't want to overpromise, but as many as we can in our question and answer period. But Thomas wants to know, do you have to have a smartphone? Are there other ways to allow people in the community to follow? It either has to be a smartphone or a tablet. We are going to talk about this. Segues into our next slide, if you would advance, and Michelle's going to walk you through the other two. You do have to have either a smartphone or a tablet to check into Foursquare. There are some other services that we're going to talk about where you can use a different technology, but for Foursquare in specific, it is GPS location, so you do have to have a tablet, an iPad, or a smartphone, and that would be an iPhone, a Droid, and I'm going blank on the other ones, but any phone that will allow you to have a GPS. Okay, so Michelle, you want to talk to us about a couple of these other two front runners. Right at the tail of Foursquare are these two other important geolocation services.
Absolutely, thank you. And those of you who've accessed Facebook, I believe online as well, but definitely through mobile devices, may have noticed, a month or two, or maybe a few months back, the little check-in button that was really available, and so that allows you to announce your presence at a particular spot. So you can literally on your Facebook page click onto that, say, I'm at such and such an office, or meeting so and so for for coffee, and that way to then track who you are, and it'll show up in your news feed just as a regular post would. And it's also a way you can use that same system to tag people as well. So in a similar way that you would tag photos on Facebook, you can also tag people that you're with at a particular location. So it's another way to build community and to show, particularly useful. You're at a particular event. I know that some people were doing this for MLK Day a few weeks ago when they were checking in and who they were with and where they were in relation to the service that they were doing. And of course Gowalla, which I know that we'll spend a little bit more time on. But this feature is great too because it starts to bring together a number of these different platforms. So you can actually check into Foursquare, Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr at the same time when using Gowalla, and you can all add highlights. So a highlight is something that tells a story about the place where you are, what's meaningful to you about it, and so it's just another way of creating a point of connection with the people who might be friends with you on Gowalla or who might be accessing your information or your account, to just give them a snapshot of who you are and what's important to you. And another thing that we really like, and I know Danielle's going to go through, is the ability to create trips, which is kind of truly be a tour guide for a particular area. You have the ability to designate specific locations that are all tied together by something common, and invite people to take that trip and to check in along the way. And so I'll let Danielle go a little bit more into that.
We can go ahead and advance the slide, but before I get the right back, I just wanted to address a couple of things in the chat room. Yes, you can use an iPod Touch to check on Foursquare, but it has to be Wi-Fi enabled. So you have to be in a hotspot to be able to do that. And someone wanted to know, I believe it's David, and he says, a few of you are serving in your rural communities, and you want some examples of how rural areas could use geolocation to draw tourism. So I'm thinking on the fly here that maybe we could do this with Gowalla. While I'm talking, if you could in the chat room give me just a few more details about what your service is like and what type of people you're trying to draw in. By the time I get maybe halfway through this, I will have had a great idea, or maybe one of our Vista guests, something would have popped up in their brain to help you guys. So before this is over, we will have come up with a scenario for you, I promise. So let me pull up this site, and Suzanne, just need to share desktop, right?
Just go to share.
Yep.
There you go.
Woo! Are you guys seeing our Gowalla site?
Almost.
All right.
There we go.
So what did I think? First of all, I just really like the look of this site. We take pictures, and you too can do it on Foursquare. You can add pictures as well. But I really like when you go to the site how this just looks visually. And you can see that Vista Buzz checked in at MLK Day 2011, Hope Worldwide Service Project, and took a photo. And so there's a photo of the volunteers checking in. They also went to the Baltimore Museum of Art. They checked in, Vista Buzz checked in at the 32nd Street Farmers Market. And I again like the fact that we can add photos, and that's the TTA conference room where Vista Buzz sits and brainstorms from time to time. And these are the people that are following us over here to the side. Places where we've been, 5 photos added. Michelle talked about the highlights, which is a new feature, and notes, which is a new feature. One of the cool things about Gowalla as well is that you get these stamps as you travel around the globe. You will get a stamp. You also get passports if you check in at different places around town. So there should be for each state that you go in, there would be a passport for that particular state, which is to collect those. But the thing that really gets me excited about Gowalla before are these trips. So they have these trips. They're all kinds of trips that are sponsored by all kinds of people, characters in the world. Disney does a trails and tales. There's the entertainment parks, so obviously these are companies. There's Moonlight Tour, but you can create your own trip, and I think that is a great way for a call to action if you want people to particularly do something. Let's go look at one of our trips, and this is the Vista DC's tour trip, which we created. It's a historical tour, and that's this drop-down menu. You have your choice of an art tour, a bar crawl, which I would hope the Vistas would not be planning, a campus tour, coffee shops, filming location, all of these different ones, photo walk, shopping, tourist favorites for the person who talked about driving tourism in a rural area. You could create a tourist favorite trip and title it anything that you want. You put description. So for this description, we wrote, if you are a Vista alum, leader, or supervisor, here are some places you should visit or drop in and say hello while you're in the nation's capital. If we wanted to, we could have put a URL there to drive them back to any location. But these are the different places that we said we wanted you to go. You have to have at least 3 trips to create a trip, and you can have up to as you want. So in order to complete this trip, someone would have to take their smartphone, and they would have to check in at the White House Center, the White House, the Veterans Memorial, and the Corporation for National Community Service, of course, right? And the thing about the trip is, too, you can move the order around any way you want it. And obviously, we figured that you would go to the visitor center before you went to the White House, so we put that first. And you can add a description or a story. So, for instance, we talked about creating one for tourism in a rural area. Maybe there are 5 different places or 3 different places at the very least that you would want them to go. You can make this a private trip. You can also send an email, be notified of an email when someone completes the trip. Now, to trip, let's go back. Simple. You create a trip. You type the title that you want. So let's say it was rural tour trip. You would select a category, tourist favorites, and it pops up. And you would put your description here of what that was, the URL of what this one was, and then you would add a spot. And oftentimes, whatever you add pops up. For instance, I really thought I would have to type this in myself, but look, it popped up, so I didn't even have to do it. If it doesn't pop up, then you will have to manually add the spot. Here's something about this. In order to complete the trip, you do physically have to be in all of these locations, but you can be anywhere in the world creating a trip for someplace else in the world. So I create a New York trip, I can create an Austin trip, I can create a California trip, anywhere across the globe, and this is also a way for then you to partner with organizations and other people across your organizations and other Vistas who are doing the same thing that you're doing, or even alumni. If you would like to create a trip for Vistas who are visiting your area and you want them to visit X amount of places, think about the PSOs. If you're at a PSO or you have some people come to a PSO, you want to provide them with fun places for them to go, inexpensive places for them to eat, and I don't know, maybe come by and visit your site, create a trip that way. I just find this to be extremely exciting. Am I the only one? Am I by myself? I just think this is so fun.
Oh, it's great. Thank you.
This is the coolest thing ever. I'm just so excited about it. So that's Gowalla. The fun thing, too, about Gowalla is that if you like to do this, it also connects to your Foursquare and your Tumblr account and your Facebook account. So you can tie it into your various other accounts. There it is. So it connects to Facebook. You can connect it to Twitter. And then if you had a Tumblr account, you could also connect it to a Tumblr blog. Oh, I'm giving right back to you, Suzanne, and I will look at some of the questions in the chat.
Great. And while transitioning to just one comment that really makes me think about is, more frequently, advent of smartphones and certainly, people having data plans, it does make access to technology that much easier and also certainly for many people that much more affordable. And so a lot of the things that we've been discussing are how, these geolocation services can help to actually better inform the folks that Vistas are serving to the services that are available within their community. So also be thinking about, not only how to build community amongst, your Vista colleagues and also, the organizations where you're serving, but also, how to really reach the people who are in your community. I know one of the biggest things that folks always talk about is how to, the resources are there and the services are there, but how do we connect people with them? And so I think, there's really a lot that can be bridged by working with folks to use, check-in technology to reach, hey, there's a special nearby, at a particular store where the items that somebody had been looking for just a day sooner available. And so I think the more that you can build the network both with folks that Vistas are serving and your organizations, the stronger that can be. And so that's something that obviously Landon is doing with the farmers market example, but also as Ashley, you're looking to build out the network and opportunities come with it. I think it's a great way to just keep to connect the dots in a way that's really affordable, and that I think will only go as mobile usage expands.
Before you continue on with the other places that we want them to watch, someone asked, can add video to Gowalla, I believe. And you can't add video to these sites yet, but give them time. I'm sure if you ask the question, someone else has as well. And so they're going to want to do that. I'm sure they're going to allow that. And I see some other questions. I'm going to let Michelle get through the other two while I read these questions and see if I can get some examples for those of you that are asking for them.
Actually, a couple more services to watch. There's Google Latitude and BrightKite. And with Google Latitude, you can actually see where people are in real time right now. I think Landon had an example about that when we were talking the other day about how you and your fellow Vistas use Google Latitude to know where you are at a particular moment or during an activity.
There's a couple of us that have phones, and we all have Google Latitude, and it turned out we just all found out that we had it because we were all on there. But so when we were all in the same city together, we were able to know where we are.
Great. So
a lot of you in the chat are asking if you don't have smartphones or if the people that are working with you don't have smartphones, what can you do? And so Latitude is great for that because you only need a computer. So as long as you have a computer, you can still check in. Obviously, they're using Google Maps. So it is real-time GPS location. They will get you down to the millimeter of the fraction of where you are, and you don't need a smartphone for that. That answers that question, and I see some others that are popping up that we're definitely going to get to. So
no problem. And I think with that too, I think like most things, it does take a while with the ripple effect, and I know that it's even though it's faster now, it's not perfect. And I think there's great importance to establishing these accounts, even if it's computer-based only, so that you are identified out there in the universe, so that as people who are increasingly accessing these platforms through their smartphones, you'll pop up. So, for instance, in that example that Danielle was using with Gowalla, she was typing in the Corporation for National and Community Service, and it already popped up. So if you do have an account with your particular organization or for an event, it just gives you another way to get recognized, even if you yourself aren't able to have a smartphone and be checking in everywhere, you can still establish the presence of your organization. And that.
One of the things I like about BrightKite, which Foursquare stole, was Foursquare also offers is the ability to talk back and forth. oftentimes you check in and you don't hear anything back from anyone else. You would either have to go on to your networks, either Facebook or back onto Twitter, to see if anybody even knows you're out there. It's like, Bueller, I just checked in. Does anybody know? And Bright Kite was one of the first ones that allowed you to have a conversation, so you would check in, and then I could immediately reply and say, oh, wait a minute, I'm here too. Where are you? Or, oh, that's a great idea. I didn't even know that place existed. And then you can answer back and say, yes, it does. We'll be here until 5 o'clock. You can take the subway over or bus L29 to get here, and you can talk back and forth about your particular check-in. So that's one of the things I really liked about Bright Kite. And Google Latitude obviously allows you to see where people, as they're moving around, literally moving around. I didn't know, Ashley or Landon, did you want to add anything to either of these two?
No, I would just love all my students to be on Google Latitude so I could track them when they run late.
That is actually a great idea, right?
Yeah, the only thing I have to say is just make sure that, you know, you have the proper privacy settings on and you only allow people that you know to see you.
Absolutely. Point. Okay, let's go ahead and advance the slide. Now, I don't want to completely overwhelm you. We talked about the big gun, and that was Foursquare, and then two coming up there, which is the Facebook check-in, and then Gowalla. The last two just shared with you, Google Latitude, and then Kate. But really, these two, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about these services as well. One is Swirl. And with Swirl, you can actually discover societies, real-world groups organized around your passions, tastes, or interests, and you can create a society as well. So for people, I know someone in the chat said that they don't, for their services, they don't have products to sell or products or places that they're trying to push, but you could create on Whirl a society where people could join around your particular cause. Loop is very similar to Foursquare. The only major difference at this point is that there is a free location-based text messaging service, a ping, if you will, to connect with friends and find places. You can see what's happening around you, what the other visitors are doing, what the alums are doing, and you can also text message away without having to worry about having a text message fee. This is a lot of information, you guys. These are a lot of services. We wanted to make sure that you were aware of all of them and that you could use them as you see fit. But one of the questions that's in the chat room, and it comes up all the time, and that is, I'm using it, but how do I get other people to use it? The way you're going to pick your service is wind out what your friends, other Vistas, and other people at your service site are using. That's generally the one you jump on board with. Now, how you come up with a strategy to get other people on board to join that particular service is where your marketing creativity comes in, and that's what incentives do you have? You don't have free produce to give away. Do you have a free session that you could give away? Do you have a meet and greet? Can you create an actual event where you have people come sign up at your event? With any marketing tool that you use, you want to ask yourself first, why am I doing this? Why am I encouraging people to use this service? If it's for outreach, then that's going to have one particular outcome, and that's going to have one strategy. If it is, in fact, to reach the people that you serve and that you want the people in your community to know where the food banks are, to know where they can get fresh produce, to know where they can go get food stamps, that's a different strategy, and you may want to use a different service. If it's connect with other Vistas because you're trying to bring Vistas in a community together, or you're about to have a citywide event and you want to know where the other Vistas are, that would be a different service as well. So I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, because we want to make sure that we are focusing here for you guys on how you can use it at your service site and within your organization and your project.
No, I mean, the only thing I'd add is in reference also to somebody else's question about, why you would use these specific location services when, something like Facebook has the capability within it as well, and more people are using that. And it's a valid question. I think, it really, and to echo what you said, Danielle, it depends on your goals. Sometimes I find it beneficial to use a new service because you can you start something from scratch. I know sometimes with Facebook, depending on whether it's in a personal account or an organizational account, using these that are really specifically focused on geolocation can you establish yourself in a different way in a place where people are focused on geolocation. So it can also open up your network to a whole new group of people. And there are also incentives depending on of interest to you, things like the badges and the stamps, and there are different programs that have been established through these geolocation services specifically to optimize, the geolocation strategies. I don't know if you'd add to that, Danielle, but
yeah, the one thing I would add is that think of it this way: Facebook is where you grow communities. It's where you can share video, you can share pictures, you share stories, you share information. It's where you grow your community. Twitter is for fast information, and therefore fast and communications, and you can think of it as the largest chat room ever created. Your geolocation services are to show people where you physically are. So you may have created an event on Facebook and told people that X is happening at Y location. And though you may have tweeted all of the details to people about this particular event, when you have arrived at the event, you will check in. As other people check in, I get to see who participated in your event. I get to know that after the fact when the data is all collected and you once again post it on Facebook if you ever do. But in real life, real-time experience, I can virtually be with you at your event and I'm in another city. Or maybe I'm close by and I didn't even know this was happening and you checked in somewhere and now I want to go find you. And I'll give you the example of a conference. You can check in at a particular panel. There are people that I know from Twitter and Facebook, and I check in and they check in on the panel, and I had no idea that they were even there, and now I get to meet them in real life. So it does depend on your strategy, as I mentioned earlier. But think about this as a way to move people to be where you are, wherever you are, if that makes any sense. Hello? All right. So let me give you some geolocation tips. First, ensure that your device is supported by the particular service that you're going to use. When possible, make changes to your account from a computer. That's make changes to your account from your computer. It's very hard to make changes from the smartphone. I'm sure they're going to change that, but right now I would recommend that you set up your account if you can from the computer and make changes from there as well. As Landon said earlier, set appropriate privacy settings, because one thing we need to be aware of is that people are going to know where you are when you check in. So we want you to be in a safe location and someplace you don't mind sharing with a lot of people. I would prefer you not check in at home unless you're having an event at home and you're okay with people having your address. You might want to think twice before you give your home address. Explore all available features, the tips, the comments, the photos, the highlights, the trips. These things are changing at a rapid pace, changing all the time. And while we're giving you all this information now, in 2 weeks from now, so many more things could have been added. So check back for that. Let's go ahead and advance. Get to some of your questions. And
but now if you want to go ahead and give us instructions, and we use that in addition to the chat feature.
I would like to remind everyone, if you would like to ask a question, star 1 on your telephone keypad. We pause for just a moment to compile Q&A roster. And there are no audio questions.
Okay. So I'm to go through the chat room.
Doing that, I think I'm just going to go through a couple of things so that if there are questions, we'll be sure to get them in.
Okay.
So just remember to, while you're exploring some of these new platforms and opportunities, that you are still a Vista, and the same restrictions apply. So you don't want to be checking into a particular political rally or a lobbying event at Vista. So just be mindful of that. And of course, also be mindful of your Vista role. So if you're doing something that represents your organization, your service, obviously be tasteful and appropriate because you're representing Vista.
So I think a lot of these questions have to do with how do you get other people involved? What's the benefit of using Foursquare on your service site in a community where there are few, it just ahead of me, where there are very few already using. How do you get people to check in and become new users? And I think that goes back to you have to show them the benefits of this is when you start either using specials or mayors get X, Y, and Z, and also driving foot traffic. If you can show you can drive foot traffic through your community through a check-in, and actually you have to play to win. You don't really get this often until you start doing it. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, it was hard to explain why check in, and then all of a sudden you start checking in and you get in, you want to do it all the time.
Yeah, I think so. Particularly when there are, it makes you realize how many things are going on in your community that would be applicable. And since you have the ability to do it, it's that much more way to communicate what's going on and connect people who are looking for similar things to one another.
And in terms of the person who has a helpline and they want to tell people how to find out about health insurance, there's some privacy issues there, obviously, with the helpline. But if you want people to find out about health insurance, you could create a location on Foursquare for where they could go get health insurance or where they could get health care, either whether it be at a clinic in that area, and you can go check in for there. They actually has several health badges. This month is actually, they rolled out a health month badge for people who will check in every single day at this particular site, and they set goals for their, whether or not they want to give up soda or sugar, or they want to work out more or drink more water, or whatever their goals are. And if they check in every day for 30 days, they get a health badge. So a lot of this has to do with being a little bit more creative about how you're going to use these services, but clearly if you can dream it and think of it, you can create a place for it. I'm going to ask, it is not possible to check in from a computer, not to Foursquare and not to Gowalla. You cannot check in from a computer. The only right now that's giving you that benefit of the geolocation services that we talked about today would be Google Latitude.
And I have for my MacBook an app that I downloaded a while ago. I rarely use it. I think it's called Foursquare X or something like that. You can find it on the apps page of the Foursquare, and you can actually check in if you have a MacBook from your computer. It's kind of a third-party program, but it works. So
there you go.
If you have a MacBook,
that's great. Michelle talked about the Hatch Act, did we not, Michelle?
Yes.
And being taken online, and we want you to stay safe online. And if you would fast forward, please, to the next slide. Michelle, then where they can learn more about Social Media Monday.
Absolutely. Social Media Monday and all of our archives, the list of the upcoming schedule for 2011, connection to the discussion forum to continue to ask your questions related to this topic or on any topic can all be found on the Vista campus on the Social Media Monday page, and I will actually copy this link into the chat so you have it right in front of you.
I believe the evaluation's going. Is that correct, Suzanne?
Yes.
Okay. So these are some of the links that we talked about in the web shop today, and we have those for you. And if you want to go in advance, there are some Vista that we hope that you will follow, and that's that course page Michelle spoke about, information on the Hatch Act if you're not familiar with it, staying safe online, our Twitter, Facebook, Foursquare, and Gowalla account, and we sure do hope that you'll follow us. I'm going to advance the slide.
And I just wanted to ask you, if you haven't yet, to just please take a couple minutes to fill out the evaluation. We're continuously improving on what we're doing here, and really appreciate your feedback. And with that, I would just like to thank you for attending. As I said, we're really excited to be back in 2011 and the first session of the new year. And Social Media Monday will be offered every other month in 2011. So the next one will be on April 4th. We'll be exploring vlogs and telling your story through video. And again, thank you so much for participating, and we look forward to continuing the conversation, if you'd like, on that Social Media Monday page on the Vista campus. So please do follow that link from the chat if you didn't get it already. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Just one quick thing before we sign off. I do see some questions that we didn't get to, and I'm going to answer them in that chat, the forum for Social Media Monday. So go to the course page and go ahead and click on the link and go to the forum, and I'll be posting answers to those questions over the next day or two. Thank you much.
Thanks to Ashley and Landon. We really appreciate your input and your advice and your experience, and we look forward to hearing more about what you're up to.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, everyone.